Hey, look at this story on CTV. The headline is, Poilievre's Conservative Party embracing language of mainstream conspiracy theories. That's the headline. I'll read the story in a moment, but before I do, look at this story in the CBC, not CTV. CBC says, Poilievre's Conservative Party embracing language of mainstream conspiracy theories. Hang on, isn't that literally word for word the same headline? Well, let's check in with the competition. Another TV station called City News. Their headline is, Poilievre's Conservative Party embracing language of mainstream conspiracy theories. Word for word. Okay, how about the Toronto Star? It's a newspaper now, not a TV station. Their headline, Poilievre's Conservative Party embracing language of mainstream conspiracy theories. Let's try that one more. Here's an all-news channel in Toronto called CP24. Poilievre's Conservative Party embracing language of mainstream conspiracy theories. Even the allegedly conservative Toronto Sun was on it. They have the same story, even though they put their own headline on it called Just Pandering. But the story that follows is identical, word for word. They're all in on it. Every one of them. By the way, those aren't just branches of the same company. I mean, CP24 and CTV are part of the same company. But the rest are owned by different owners. Now, all of the owners are heavily regulated by Trudeau and all are heavily subsidized by Trudeau. Only the CBC is officially a state broadcaster owned outright by the government, but the rest are rented by the government, which actually makes them more obedient because they're desperately, constantly lobbying for the next grant from Trudeau. I mean, I could stop here, and that's huge news, what I just showed you. It's embarrassing to the journalists if they were capable of embarrassment, but they're not. So let me show you some more. Here's Katie Telford, Trudeau's chief of staff. Poilievre's Conservative Party embracing language of mainstream conspiracy theories. You can see she's linking to one of the stories. Now, Telford herself didn't write the story. I'll show you who wrote the story in a moment. But yesterday morning, she made a point of tweeting it. Telford. Now, like I say, she's the chief of staff. She's the second in command for Trudeau after Gerald Butts, the corrupt lobbyist who orchestrated the firing of Jody Wilson-Raybould as justice minister because Wilson-Raybould wouldn't call off the corruption trial of Trudeau's friends at SNC Lavalin. My point about Telford is that she is a top dog. The Liberals have 158 MPs and hundreds of communication staff. The Liberal Party itself has a large following, including 400,000 on Twitter. Telford's job is not a press secretary, and she really doesn't tweet that much, usually just once or twice a day, often high-minded policy tweets, usually retweeting cabinet ministers. So when Katie Telford weighs in on a Sunday morning, it's for a reason. She herself doesn't have a particularly large Twitter following, but it's probably the most influential Twitter following in Ottawa. Every journalist, every lobbyist, every hanger-on follows her. So that's what she was doing. She was talking to the Liberal Party's real base, the media. This was her bat signal, like in the Batman series, her way of calling to her whole tribe. This is the message we all have to deliver, get the bat signal going. And they all did, didn't they? It was like watching a flock of birds align in perfect formation. The article itself was written by a reporter named Mickey Jurich. I'd never heard of her before. The reason why the article appeared in so many different publications simultaneously is that it was published by a newswire called Canadian Press, which has a stable of their own reporters, and other news companies can subscribe to Canadian Press and republish whatever they like from it. Newswires are useful for covering things that a local newspaper can't attend in person. For example, newswires are useful for covering foreign news. That's actually how they got going over 100 years ago. A local newspaper couldn't afford to have someone in Washington and London and Paris and Moscow, but news agencies like Reuters could, and that's how they made money. But of course, every subscribing newspaper was relying on that same newswire reporter. That's what the Canadian Press is. It's also called CP. By the way, we subscribe to CP for photos because we don't have a cameraman everywhere in the country. Obviously, we would never run CP's written propaganda like this, but our thinking is a picture is generally just a picture, and so we pay for them. We're part of CP2 in a way. Of course, Mickey Jurich of Canadian Press isn't based in some far-flung region. She's just in Ottawa, along with hundreds of other journalists. Here's her LinkedIn biography. You can see that before she worked for CP, she worked for the CBC. It really is one big club, and you're not in it. The story, and I'll read it in a moment, isn't some unique insight or like a foreign newswire, something that was very difficult to get for a Canadian media company to do. It was just a Liberal Party spin. It was a hit piece on Poilievre, which is why Katie Telford was so excited about it. By the way, you can see Mickey Jurich's recent work on her LinkedIn page. She just ran a story a couple weeks ago with the opening line, Poilievre falsely claimed people will not be able to see news on the internet under the new law. She was talking about C-18, which of course Poilievre was actually saying the exact truth. Facebook and Google are stopping to publish links to Canadian news sites because Trudeau is proposing to tax them for even publishing a link on their websites. It's so obvious. Don't take it from me, take it from every other media company that's squawking about the mess Trudeau's made with C-18. But Mickey Jurich is a reliable Liberal Party asset. Poilievre is lying. No, he's not. Anyway, just FYI, the Canadian Press itself is owned by the Toronto Star, the Globe and Mail, and La Presse, three of the largest recipients of Trudeau's bailout money, so it's just as liberal as they are. So let's finally read the story a bit. I'll choose the version from CBC's own website, but they're all the same. Poilievre's Conservative Party embracing language of mainstream conspiracy theories. Tory leaders' summer stump speeches include ramped-up rhetoric about the World Economic Forum. First of all, what is a mainstream conspiracy theory? What even is that? Isn't that a contradiction? If you ask me to name a mainstream conspiracy theory, I might say the idea that a carbon tax somehow can make the weather colder, or something like that, or that men can be women. Although that last one is only believed by experts, not by anyone real. Anyways, there's a picture of Poilievre, and here's the caption under his photo. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre speaks at a news conference on Parliament Hill on August 1st. Some of Poilievre's recent speeches have featured ramped-up rhetoric around debunked claims that the World Economic Forum is attempting to impose its agenda on sovereign governments. Okay, good. I'd like to know what debunked claims Poilievre mentioned. We've been promised a conspiracy theory by this story and the tweets and the headlines, and we've been promised that conspiracy theory is going to be debunked. So let's hear it. I'm very curious, aren't you? Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has been hitting the summer barbecue circuit with ramped-up rhetoric around debunked claims that the World Economic Forum is attempting to impose its agenda on sovereign governments. It is, some experts suggest, another sign that some conspiracy theories are moving from the fringes of the internet to mainstream thinking as people's distrust of government grows. In speeches to Conservative supporters across Canada, Poilievre has promised that none of his ministers will attend international organizations' conferences, including the annual meeting typically held in Davos, Switzerland. Okay, hang on. You've moved on to what Pierre Poilievre said he's going to do about it, stopping his cabinet ministers from attending the World Economic Forum, but you skipped over the part where you quote him. You know, the part that you sold in your headline and the photo caption. What's the conspiracy theory he said? Give me the words. What did he say? And show me how it's being debunked. Maybe they're just waiting to tell us. Maybe they're saving the best for last. Let's keep reading. It's far past time we rejected the globalist Davos elites and bring home the common sense of the common people, said a Saturday fundraising email. Okay, that's different than a stump speech, isn't it? The Conservative Party also recently sent out mailers with a poll asking people to tell Prime Minister Justin Trudeau who they think the Prime Minister should stand with, working Canadians or the World Economic Forum. Okay, we're pretty deep into the story now, so where's the conspiracy theory part? Davos is the fancy skiing town in Switzerland where the World Economic Forum does meet.